Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to our channel A to Z Automation and Java. I hope you all liked our previous videos, and if you don't watch, please go and watch them. The link is shared in the description below. In previous video we have discussed about what is a class in Java and how to compile and execute that Java class through command prompt terminal. Okay. So let's proceed further and start our new topic. So today we are going to discuss about data types in Java. Data types in the Java. Data types, basically if we talk about data types specify the different size and values that can be stored in the variable. If we talk about a definition of the data types, then we will say that data types specify the different sizes and values that can be stored in the variable. And moving further, if we talk about particular, then data type is divided into two different parts. Data type is divided into two different groups. And what are those groups? The first one is the primitives. Primitive data type. And inside primitive data type, it is divided into 8 different parts. We can say that it includes 8 different types that are byte, short, int, long, then float, double, boolean and char. These are the 8 different types of data types which we are going to discuss inside the primitive data types. And there is one more part of the data types, that is the non-primitive data types. Non-primitive data types. It includes such as includes a string, array and classes. Okay, so these are the two different parts which we are going to discuss inside the data types. The first one is the primitives. It includes 8 different types, and the second one is non-primitive data type, which includes string, arrays and classes. Okay, let's move forward and discuss about the first of them. What are primitive data types? Okay, so if we talk about primitive data types, then a primitive data type basically specifies the size and type of the variable values, and it has no additional methods. If we talk about the definition of this one, it specifies the size and type of value, type of variable value we are going to store. We are going to store, and it has no additional methods. So basically in primitive data types we generally store the value, and it can different data types which we are going to discuss about sizes, different in their sizes, and the types of each of them is different. That is, few of them can store a numeric value, few can store the fractional values, and few are going to store only the single characters inside that one. So depending on that, they have the different sizes and different types. Okay, so let's discuss about each and every one of them in detail. So if we talk about the first one, the first one is byte. If we are going to discuss about the byte, then the size of the byte is 1 byte, that is 8 bits. 1 byte is the actual size of the byte, and byte is capable to store up to 1 minus 127 to positive 127 values inside it. So if we say that the range of this basically data type is minus 128 to 127, it is capable up to store up to these values. If we go beyond these, then this will give us the error. Okay, so byte is capable of is to store up to minus 128 to 127. The second one in the queue is sort. Sort, if we talk about the size of the sort, then it is just double of the byte, 2 byte. It is double in size of the byte, and now the range of this will also be increased as the size of the data type is increasing. So roughly if we discuss about this, then it can store up to minus 32768 to positive 32767. Okay, 767. This is the range of sort. We can store up to these values inside the sort data type. The third one in the queue is int. Int can store up to just the double of the sort. So if we talk about the size of this one, then the size of int is just double of the sort, 4 bytes. Okay, the size of the sort is 2 bytes, size of the int is 4 bytes. And if we talk about the values which we can store, the range of the integer increases a lot. We can't remember that thing. I can't remember that thing, so I will just tell you what is the exact value that can be stored inside this one. What is the range of that one? So the range is minus 2147483 This is the negative value, and in the positive we just go one less than the negative. So it will be this one, 2147483 This is the range of the values which we can store inside the int data type. Now the fourth one in the queue will be long. Long is also just as double as the int. So the size of the int is 4 bytes. So the size of the long will be 8 bytes. Okay. So this is very large value which we can't remember as of now, but I will tell you what is the range of that one. So it can store up to minus 9223372 and 854 808. And the same, if we want to go in the positive, we will just copy this value, paste it here, and it will be less one less than the negative one. So in the positive it will be 807 and in negative it will be 808. So long is capable to store up to these range of values. Okay, the next one in the queue will be float. Float is used to store the fractional values, the decimal values, and the size of the float is actually the 4 bytes. The default size of this one is 4 bytes. And if we talk about the range of this one, so float is basically, as I already told, it is going to store the fractional values. So it will store fractional values, and it is sufficient to store up to 6 to 7 decimal places. Sufficient to store 6 to 7 decimal places. 6 to 7 decimal digits or places. It is capable up to storing 6 to 7 decimal places. Okay, the second one which is used to store the fractional values is double. So if we talk about the decimal values, float is having the size of 4 bytes and the double is just the double size of the float, so it will be of the 8 bytes, and the range will also increase. So now the float is also storing the fractional values inside it, but the range or the digits which it can store after the decimal values will be increased. So now it will be able to store up to 15 decimal places. So the double will be able to store up to 15 decimal places, and the float is able to store up to 6 to 7 decimal places, and double is capable to store up to 15 decimal places. Okay, and the seventh one in the queue is boolean. Boolean is just of the 1 bit. It can store only 2 values. It can store either true or false. Either true or false. The last one in the queue is char. Okay. Char is having the default size of 2 bytes and it is capable to store a single character. It can store a single character like A, B, C, D, alphanumeric value. Only a single character is acceptable. Store a single character. Okay, so these are the 8 different data types which we are going to discuss, and all are capable for storing up to certain limits. So let's discuss about these in detail by taking an example of all of these. So today we will do the coding on the Eclipse. Today we are going to use the Eclipse integration tool in order to do the coding for that one, and in the future we are going to use Eclipse as the IDE tool. Okay guys, so as now the Eclipse is opened, so in the Eclipse how we will proceed? So in order to proceed in Eclipse, what we basically do is that first of all we will create our project. We need to create project. For that one we will use Java project. Inside Eclipse, firstly we have to create a Java project. Then after creating the package, we will create one package inside that project. So next step will be create a package. After creating the package, inside the package we will create our different Java classes. Okay, so this is the way in order to proceed in the Eclipse project basically. So let's discuss about that one inside the Eclipse. And here is the Eclipse. So in order to create the Java project, first of all click on files, then go to new, and you have to select Java project if it is getting displayed here. As inside my menu Java project is not getting displayed, so first of all I will go to projects and then I will select this Java project, then click on next. Here I have to give the project name. Okay, so I am just creating a sample project, so I will give it a sample testing project YouTube. Okay, just click on finish. So here is the project which I have just created. This is the project which I created. Now I will expand this one. Here you will see one src folder. So inside this src folder we have to create one package. Create a package inside src folder. Okay, we have to create one package inside the src folder. We will go and right click on src folder, and then go to new section. Inside new, click on the package. Then you have to just provide the package name. this is the package name, and inside this package we have to create a Java class. So right click on the package and go to new section and click on the class. Okay, so in this class what we are going to discuss, we are just going to discuss about the data types. So I will provide a name as data types, and I will create one main method inside that one as well. As I already told in the first class, main method is the only method which is going to execute at the runtime. So I am just creating and selecting the option for the main method. So it will automatically create the main method, else we have to create by ourselves. Okay, this is the main method which is created here. Okay, so now if we are talking about the different data types, so the first data type which we just talked about is in the queue is byte. So byte is capable to store up to 128 minus 128 to positive 127. So we can see that I am just creating one byte variable using basically the I'm just creating a byte variable, and its data type is byte. I am just giving a reference name in order to refer the value. I am just giving the reference name as byte, and I will store a value in between the range of minus 128 to positive 127 for this one. Okay, so inside the byte we will store the values up to the range of minus 128 to positive 127. If we will give here minus 128, it is not giving any error. It means minus 128 is stored inside the byte data type. This variable is created. And suppose if we go beyond minus 128 and if we give minus 129, it will directly give us the error inside the Eclipse. Inside the Eclipse, guys, this is the profit that we don't have to compile the file every time. The classes which we are creating inside the Eclipse are auto compiled. So whenever you will do any compilation error, it will automatically tell you that this is the error, please resolve this one. So here we did the issue which need to be caught at the compilation time. So this is the range which is out of this byte range. Byte is capable up to storing minus 128 to positive 127, and we are giving the value beyond that range. So it is capable up to storing minus 128. And if we go in the positive one, then it is capable to store up to minus positive 127. And if we go beyond that one, that is 128, it will again give us the error. Okay, so byte is capable to store values up to minus 128 to positive 127. Okay, so now the second one in the queue was the sort one. Sort, which is just the double the size of the byte. I am giving it the name SHT. And now there is the range of 32767 to 32768. 32768 to 32767 in positive. So this is the range of sort. So we will just try to store this value here. It will not give us any error. It is capable to store this value. But if we go beyond this one and it will increase one value inside this one, it will again give us the error, because now the size of the sort is also reached. We can't go beyond that one. It is not capable to store values outside that range. So the range of that one is this 32768 to 32767. This is the range of sort. So we can't go beyond this range. We need to store values inside this range. If we need to store values inside this range, then we will go for the sort. Okay, and if there is any condition that we need to store higher values, then we will go for the next one in the queue, that is the int, which is just the double of this one. Okay, so the range of int is minus 2147483648 to positive 647. So we can store up to these values inside the sort, basically the int. So we can store up to this value. It will not give us any error. And if we just go beyond this range and if we will give 9 instead of 8, then it will throw us an error because it's out of the range of the integer. And if we go in positive, then it will take values up to 647 in the positive, and if we go beyond this range then it will again give us the error. Okay, so this is the range of these values. Next one in the queue is the long. Long has a much higher range than that of the int, and it's double in size of the int. So the range of the long is this one. This is the range of the long, and it is capable to store up to these values. But need to remember one thing: when we are storing the values in the long, then we have to add L at the end of the value which we are providing. We need to enter L here as well, which is not considered in the value, but we need to provide L at the end of this one. We need to provide suffix as the L at the end. Okay, this is not a part of the value, but whenever we are storing the values in the long data type, then we have to add the suffix as the L. So if we go beyond the range of this one as well, this is the 9, so it will again give us the error. In the same way, in the positive one, it will go up to 807. Okay, so the next one in the queue is float. Float is capable up to storing up to 5 decimal places, which we already discussed. It is capable up to storing 6 to 7 decimal places. It is capable to store up to 6 and 7 decimal places. So suppose I am giving this one, and after the decimal value we are giving values like this. So need to remember, as we are doing in the long, is that we are suffixing it with L. So here in the float values we need to give the suffix as F. We need to provide the suffix as F at the end of the float value, and at the end we will provide semicolon. So here it is not giving any error. When we are declaring or initializing the float value, it is not giving any error. So what will happen? It will store up to 6 to 7 decimal places. The rest value will be ignored. It will be round off. It is not going to store more than that range, but it will not throw us any error as well. It will just round off that value. Okay, so whenever we use the reference F in future, it will display us the value after the decimal place up to 6 to 7 decimal places only. The rest will be ignored. Okay, so next one in the queue is double. Double is capable up to storing up to 15 decimal places, so we can give any long range. And as we are doing in the long and float, we are suffixing it with L and F. So here we have to give a suffix as D. So this is the long value we are giving, but it will store up to 15 decimal places only. Up to this value it will be capable to store, rest all it will ignore, and it will round off that value. Okay, so these are the 7 different data types, and the last one, no, these are the 6 data types. The next one in the queue is char. Char is capable to store a single variable. It will store a single variable inside it. Okay, so now what we will do is that in order to store the values in the char, we need to give the values in single quotes, and it will store only a single character inside a single quotes. Suppose if you try to give more than one character, then it will display the error. It will not allow us to store more than one character inside it. We need to give only a single character, and if we are giving 2 characters, then it will again display an error. So we are capable to store only a single character inside the char. The next one in the queue is boolean. As we already discussed that boolean is capable to store only 2 values, that is either true or false. So inside boolean, we can either store true or we can store false. Rest, if we provide anything else, it will give us the error like this, yes or no. Anything else we will try to provide, it will give us the error. So it can store only true or false. Okay, anyone having any doubt, then please give us the comment. I will try to resolve that one. So suppose now we have to call all these values inside this main method. As we already discussed in the previous class, that only the things which are mentioned inside the main method will be executed. So suppose if we want to display these values on console or use them inside our code, then we have to use inside any method or inside the main method. Okay, so now suppose if we want to call these values inside this main method. So as of now, as we didn't discussed about the object, so I will do one thing, that I will add static keyword before all of these things we will discuss in the later on classes. But as of now I am implementing the static, I am adding the static keyword with all the data types and variables. What it will do is that static inside the static method we can call the static variables and methods directly. We don't need any reference of for those things. So as you can see that here the main method is the static method. Here the main method is the static method. So inside the static method we can call static variables and methods directly. Now as we declared all of these as static, so we will be able to call all of these directly inside this method. Else if these are not static, so inside the static area we will need to create object for those values which are not static. We will discuss this later on. As of now I am just making all of these as a static. So in order to call, so suppose I want to display the values on console. So in order to display on console, as we already discussed in the previous class, we will use system.out.println statement. System.out.println statement, what it will do, it will display on the console whatever the value we are passing inside this one, and after printing that value on the console, the cursor will move on to next line. The ln is representing the next line. So if we are giving system.out.println, then after displaying the value of the console, the cursor will move to the next immediate line. And if we are not giving this ln, then the cursor will not move to next line, it will just stay on that line, and it will the next value will be displayed just after that one. Okay, so now if we are using println and I am passing this byte inside this, okay, sorry, the reference name for that byte variable is byte. So I am giving this byte here. So the value of byte is 127 and it will display 127 on the console. So next in the queue I will display sht. Sht is the sort value which we have declared above, and the value is 32767. So it will display 32767 on the console. In the same way, I am displaying the integer value on the console, then long. The next one in the queue is the float value. Another one is the double, then the char, and then the boolean value. Okay, so all these values will get displayed on the console once we execute this one. In order to execute this one, just right click on the class which you have created and click on run as Java class. This option, run as Java application, will get displayed only and only if the main method is present here. Suppose if the main method is not present, then that run as Java class option will not get displayed. Suppose if we do any changes inside this, as you already know that the syntax for the main method is fixed for the Java, and we change the name of that method, so this method will not treated as the main method. Now it will not give us the option to execute as Java application. Now Java application option is not getting displayed as the main method is missing. We can't proceed without the main method, so inside this Eclipse it will not allow us to proceed further. Main method need to be there in order to execute the class. So now I am again making it as the main method. Now we will right click on this one, and again we will go to run as option, and now it is again displaying this option. Okay, so now just execute the class. Okay, now you can see that it is displaying all the values on the console. The first one in the queue is the byte, and the byte value is 127 that got displayed. The next one in the queue is sort is getting displayed as 32767. And as we already told that we are using println statement, so after displaying 127 value, the cursor will move to next statement. So after displaying 127, cursor will just move to next line, and then we displayed SHT is 32767. After displaying 32767, cursor again move to the next line in the queue. Then it's displaying this 2147483647, again moving to next line. Then it will be proceeded till the last line of the queue, and in the last line, after displaying bool is the value of the bool is true. After displaying true, cursor will again move to next line. So here in this queue you can see that there will be one more extra line where the cursor is blinking. This extra line is just because of this statement, system.out.println. Suppose in the last line if we remove this println and we are just giving print, so next time when we execute this code, one extra line will not get displayed. Here the cursor will not move to next line. I am unable to move to next line because there is no next line. In the last statement we are using system.out.print only. So what's happening there? The value got displayed on the console, but the cursor is blinking just behind that value. The cursor is not moved to next line. ln is missing here. ln represents the next line, but ln is not given, so the cursor is not moved to next line. Okay, so here one more point is there as well. What is the default values of all of these? Suppose if we just declare these variables, I will also tell you what is the declaration. Declaration is like that we are declaring any variable. We are declaring that we are going to use the byte variable in the future, but we are not giving the initial value. As you can see that here in all of these variables, what we are doing is that we are creating these variables and we are giving the initial values to all of these. We created one variable with data type byte. The reference name of this variable is byte, and the value which we provided is the 127. So here you can say that data type of this variable is byte, reference name is byte, and the value is 127. So if we provide the value for the first time, suppose we created any variable and we are providing the value for the first time to that variable, then that is known as initialization. We initialized this variable. This is known as initialization, providing the value for the first time to any of the variable which we have created. This is known as initialization. Suppose, so in this case we have already initialized all of these variables. We are just creating these variables and we are giving the values to all of them for the first time. So this is known as initialization. So now suppose if we don't want to give the value at the time of creating the variable, we can also do that thing. So here now what I will do is that I will create few variables just below this one. Suppose now I will create byte as byte1. Now I don't want to give the initial value to this one. We will just put the semicolon at the end. So what is this? What we did with this variable? We just declared that we are going to use byte1 in the coming future in order to store the byte values. In the coming future we can store the byte values only inside this byte1 variable. This is the reference name for the byte1 variable whose data type is byte, and we will be able to store only the values which are under the range of byte variable. And byte data type is able to store up to -128 to 127 inside the positive. So this is the range, so we will be able to store only that range of values in the future. So as of now we just declared that we are going to use byte1 reference name in the future in order to store the byte values. So this is known as declaration. We just declared that we will use byte1 in the future in order to store the byte values. So we can also do this for others as well. So that is known as declaration. Okay, so we just declared all the types of variables here. So all of these are, this term is known as declaration. We just declared that we are going to use these reference variables in order to store these type of values. So now what I want to say is that when we declare any variable, at the time of declaration also these variables have their initial value. Some default value is always given to all the data type variables. So here the first one in the queue is byte. As you can see in the above one, byte, sort, int and long, these four we are using in order to store the numeric values. The range is different, but what we are doing, we are storing the numeric values in all of these. So if we talk about the initial, what is the default value of this one? If we are not giving any value, then the default value for all of these which are storing the numeric value is 0. So for the byte, the default value will be 0. In the same way for the sort as well, as it is also storing the numeric value, the default value will be 0. The next one is integer. The default value for integer is also 0. The long is also storing the numeric value, so we can say that the default value for long is also 0. Now the float and double, these two are storing the values in the fraction, that the decimal values. So for those type of variables, the default value is 0.0. For fractional values, the default value is 0.0. The double is also storing in the fractional, so it will have the default value as 0.0. Now if we discuss about the char, char is a little bit different. It has the default value as a space, single space. Single blank space will be there if we don't provide any value to that variable. Okay, I will show you a little bit later on. The last one in the queue is boolean. Boolean stores true or false. So the default value for boolean is false. If we don't provide any value to boolean, the default value which will be stored inside bool1 will be false. So as of now, what we can say that byte1, byte1 is storing 0, sht1 is storing 0, I1 has the default value of 0, L1 has the default value of 0, F1 is storing 0.0, D1 is storing 0.0, and CH1 is storing a single space, single blank space, and bool1 is storing the default value as false. Now you can prove this thing. Just try to display all of these on console using the reference name inside the main method. I am just providing this reference name inside the main method for all of these. Okay, so now if we execute this code, it will, as we didn't provided the values for all of these variables, you can see that here, so it will display the default values of all of these. Now if we display the default values, you can see the default value for the first one is 0, byte, sort one is 0, int is 0, long is 0. The 4 from the top are 0. The next one in the queue is float and double. Float and double are also displaying 0.0. And the next is ch1. it is displaying a single space, which you can see as here. I am just hovering that one. It is containing single space. This is the blank space it is displaying. Okay, so this is the default value for the char. Now the boolean has the default value of the false, as we are already displaying it here. So this is all about the data types as of now. Thank you everyone for your time. Stay happy, and please do share, subscribe and like my channel if you like the videos, and please show the support to me. Thank you.